All right, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I want to podcast today because I'll be out. I just want to finish up where we left off on Monday. So today is Tuesday. So on Monday, the information about the different key players at Vienna and who they were and what they stood for. So I'm going to go over those people, and then you will have a worksheet that I'd like you to complete for the remainder of class. And that will be your assignment for today. But there is another podcast. So I'd like you to please listen to that podcast by the end of this week. All right. So just for right now, though, let's just quickly go over. We left off with not Otto von Bismarck, with Metternich, who was the host. And I described him yesterday as the coachman of Europe, right? He was the one who was going to steer everyone else through this Congress, and he invited everyone else. He was the host. His biggest fear is nationalism. He's coming from the Austrian Empire where nationalism just does not work, can't function there. And so his goal is to limit nationalism in however he perceives it. He's also against giving Russia too much power or Prussia too much power. He wants to maintain Austria's preeminence in the region. But ultimately, his biggest goal is to be able to have a balance of power. And so when you see what he gives up as an Austrian ambassador, he gives up a really wealthy region, Belgium, in order to have a balance, a counterbalance to France's rule. In England, the ruler is Viscount Castlereagh, and he really is going to, as he said, a Vienna not to collect trophies, but to establish peace. So that was his goal, right? He's not actually looking to collect any new gains or territories. And as a matter of fact, if you look and see just what England had, its interest is really not in the control of the regions of Europe. It's instead to really have maintained control of its colonial empire. So what they don't want, what England does not want, is they do not want a Russian Poland. They are in favor of having a united Holland and Belgium. They are in favor of establishing a balance of power. And their greatest goal over this entire time, by far their greatest goal, is to be able to have freedom of the seas and open trade. In France was actually given presence at this Congress of Vienna. And Talleyrand, he is in favor of supporting a balance of power, reminding everyone you don't want to squash France because then you don't have an even balance of power. And he's also in favor of restoring French territories so that way they have some land to be able to defend. Now, what I do also want to go over, there were some questions about Germany and what happened to Germany during this Congress of Vienna. So this is the boundary of the German Confederation. You can see the black line here. This is the boundary of the German Confederation during the Congress of Vienna as a result of 1815. And then you can also see a grayer line at the boundary of German states. So what happens to the German states? By the Act of the Confederation signed on June 18th, a German confederacy was set up to replace the old Holy Roman Empire. The number of German states is going to be reduced from over 300 to only 39. The Diet is going to be established under the presidency of Austria. So Austria is going to be the dominant person over this Diet or this new kind of legislature that states were to send delegates. But in truth, that legislature, that Diet, is pretty weak. Each state's going to be independent in internal affairs, but any war between the states was forbidden. And if they were to go to war with any foreign country, they needed permission from the Confederacy. And that's sort of how they tried to achieve this balance. Bavaria is going to also gain some land, and Hanover is going to become a kingdom and become one of the larger kingdoms. The other items we've really all talked about, I just want to point out also that Prussia gets this bridge, right, this Rhine barrier along the Rhine River, which helps improve it. And that's really it for that. Ultimately, one of the final things that's established is this Holy Alliance. The final thing that was established was this Holy Alliance, which was a scheme really by the Tsar Alexander I. What he does is he asks for all monarchs to sign a statement where they promise to uphold Christian principles of charity and peace. Everyone signs this agreement with the exception of the Pope, who's refusing to sign with Protestants, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, and Great Britain, who really views this as a sublime piece of against a sublime piece of mysticism and nonsense. They're sort of outside of this, and they really are trying to avoid being drawn in further. Liberals consider this a very unholy alliance of monarchies that are pushing against liberty and progress. And the goal of this is really an alliance among the countries to maintain religion and therefore the conservative ideas. The final thing that's established at the Congress of Vienna is this promise that they will meet again. So the Concert of Europe is this notion, a concert, right, a time when will meet regularly, where to preserve the goals of the Vienna Congress, states will be playing out in the national interest. It's referred to as the Congress system, although it never really was a formal system. Diplomats felt that it was important that they stick together in peacetime in order to preserve the peace. But it was more of a gentleman's agreement, and it was verbal. There was no real formal constitution, and it was decided that when and where conflicts could lead to international war, there would be some kind of Congress to meet and talk it out first. And that was really the agreement of the Congress system. And so there are a series of them, marking first with 1815 and the Congress of Vienna. In 1818, there's the Congress of Aix-la-Chapelle. In 1820, there's the Congress of Troppau. In 1821, the Congress of Laibach. And finally, in 1822, a Congress of Verona. And so in the following podcast, that is going to be the work. So you can, as a class right now, listen to that podcast if you want to just keep taking notes, and you can take the worksheet to work on later. Or you can choose to do the worksheet now and listen to the podcast later. But I did want to break it up. All right, so have a good afternoon. Keep working on your research papers. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. All right, have a good day. Take care.